Good morning. It's Ruben
Happy Erev
Ebrahimoff.
Shabbos.
Happy Erev Shabbos. And in preparation for Shabbat, we've been reading the Parshas HaShavua, the Torah portion of the week, which was Parshas Bo, and we have a special supplemental reading from the book of Yirmiyahu, from the book of Jeremiah. And the 7 things that we need to know about this Haftorah is how to go from just reading it in English to reading it in Hebrew to really comprehending what is it that we're reading. And you have the selection because the Haftorah of Bo comes from the book of Yirmiyahu, Jeremiah, and he addresses the nation of Egypt. So that's just the beginning of the connection, but the conversations are parallel with each other about the destiny of Mitzrayim, of Egypt. Yirmiyahu is one of the 3 major prophets, along with Yechezkel and Yeshayahu. Yirmiyahu, Hashem will raise us up. He lived in Jerusalem for a short life of 52 years, and he was reluctant even pre-birth to accept the role and function of a man that had to deliver communications without fear of a response from Am Yisrael. The people didn't want to hear it, let alone the key, crucial, crux person was the king of Israel, didn't want to hear what Yirmiyahu had to say. Yirmiyahu, Jeremiah, was envisioning that it would be just pathetic and useless to resist the Babylonian army. And the king refused to listen and to surrender. I'm the king of Israel, Hezekiah. I'm not surrendering. God is going to save us. So there's a bit of tension between the prophet and the monarchy.
Was it Chizkiyahu?
I believe so.
Was it Chizkiyahu with the Assyrians?
Hold on.
Yoshiyahu, maybe Tzidkiyahu is probably the one that disobeyed Yirmiyahu.
Yeah. I have my folders out. Sorry, guys. Gonna have to come back to which king it was.
Okay. Probably not important, but
it is for accuracy purposes. I tend to just say things sometimes without fact checking. Okay, so here you have this short, it's 15 verses long from chapter 46, and it starts in verse 13. And it says, Hadavar, which is one of the 10 words that are used for a prophetic experience, a vision, chazon. So Hadavar is another one of the 10 different words. Asher diber Hashem el Yirmiyahu hanavi. So just right from the get-go, the text is stating that God spoke to Jeremiah the prophet. One, I don't even think you need to mention Hanavi, if already it says that God spoke to the prophet, so to the individual. But it says that God spoke to him, Lavo, and how? Nebuchadrezzar, that you have the king of Babylonia, Melech Bavel, Lahakot at Eretz Mitzrayim, that he's having a prophecy, if you could imagine. You had Israel in the middle, united monarchy at the time. Beit HaMikdash stood, and pre-destruction of the temple. And to the south was the Egyptians, who had been embattled with Israel during the Exodus. And then you had up north is the Babylonians, which was part of a greater world superpower called Mesopotamia. And as Dr. Gofar mentioned earlier, that there were phases of supremacy between the Assyrians, not to be confused with the Syrians, and then it transitioned out of Assyrian supremacy, and now Babylonia is dominating the world with its supremacy.
Now,
And it
hello. Yeah, we have a strange thing happening here. Egypt was subjugated 8 centuries before. All of a sudden, it's powerful again. That's one. So powerful as it's probably the only competitor for Babylonia. And the other strange thing is what is this Nebuchadnezzar versus Nebuchadnezzar?
Yeah. So we noticed that there is a change in the spelling of the name of the king. It is not, repeat, not 2 separate people. It is the same person with a slight modulation in the pronunciation of the name. It could be attributed to certain geographical variations on the pronunciation of the name as it then got translated into Hebrew, that it would sit that way. Remember, the name Nebuchadnezzar is 3 parts: Nabu, Chad, and Netzar. And that is 1, his name; 2, shield; and 3, the deity. So the deity is shield of Nabu, which was the name, I believe it was, I got it right as far as the order of the king's name, and that they would say, like Jewish people would say, Yirmiyahu, that Yarim, I will be raised up by Hashem. And here he's walking around saying, I'm protected by my deity, Netzar. So
I thought he got his name because he was a Nebuch.
and his previous king was evil, Merodach.
Right.
Hagidu b'Mitzrayim. It continues in Pasuk Yud Daled in verse 14 of chapter 46 of Mem
Ruby,
Vav.
excuse me, before you go forward, let me just say one thing. Steinsaltz labels Bo's Haftorah as the Babylonian defeat of Egypt. So it's a continuation of the Hebrew defeat of Egypt when Moshe takes Am Yisrael and a portion of Erev with him out of Egypt. And he starts the destruction process. This is the end of the destruction process. How many years later, Ruby?
It's 8 centuries later, by the way.
The Exodus was in 2448.
Mm-hmm.
And this is happening, which is in a different timeline, in 586 BCE. I think it translates roughly to 3300.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about those 800 years. It's
a lot
centuries
more.
later, to put it safely. Very good.
Thank you.
So the Egyptians never quite came back to the world superpower that they were in the time of Moses. However, they still had a lot of oomph in them. So we could do a little bit background here. The historical context is attested to by Yirmiyahu himself. In the same chapter as the Haftorah, Yirmiyahu describes the Battle of Karkamish, a historical event that turned the tide of power in the region. In 605 BCE, which is before the destruction of the temple in 586, so that would be 14 and 5, 19 years earlier, Egypt had crossed through the tribe of Yehudah and joined forces with its former foe, Assyria, to fight the new aggressor, Babylonia. The campaign failed and Pharaoh was forced to retreat. 37 years later, however, having subdued everyone else in the region, Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylonia, turned to Egypt and dealt it a massive blow in its own land that they invaded. The theme of the Haftarah, as well as the Parashah, is that the defeat of Egypt is imminent and escapable. This is highlighted by the repetition of the word bo, come. The Haftarah begins with Yirmiyahu warning to Egypt, his warning to Egypt. Nebuchadnezzar's attack is coming. Egypt will muster its resources, but they will fail. Yirmiyahu spells Nebuchadnezzar's name with an R. This is an alternate transliteration of his Akkadian name. So it says here, Nebuchadnezzar's attack is coming upon Egypt. Egypt will muster its resources, but Sheldon will say they did not cut the mustard when it came to triumphing. So Hagidu here we go down to Pasuk 14 of chapter 46. Hagidu b'Mitzrayim is declare in Egypt, v'hashmi'u v'migdol, and here publish in Migdol, v'hishmi'u b'Nof, and also publish in the city of Memphis, that they named after a place in Tennessee, Uvesach Panches, and in the city of Tapanes, Imru, say, Hisyatsev, stand forth, like Atem Nitzavim, Hisyatsev, stand, Vehochein Loch, and prepare, Ki Ochla Cherev Sivivecha, for the sword has devoured round about you. So this means prepare yourself, Egypt, for what's about to happen. 15, Tedvav. Madua nischaf abirecha. Why are your strong ones swept away? Lo amad ki Hashem hadafo. Lo amad, they did not stand. Why? Ki Hashem hadafo, because God thrust them down. Now Rashi comments about being swept away, nischaf. Mighty men have been swept away and have slid. The word sweeping rain. His field had been inundated. And this is an expression of complete destruction. And so did he classify matar sechaf, which is interpreted like matar, cutting rain falls on the land, and this washed away anything that was left or even being tried to rebuild as a nation. Egypt says they're finished. Tet Zion. Hirba koshel. He made many to stumble. Gam nafal. Also they fell on one another. Ish el re'ehu. Man upon man. V'yomru. Kuma v'nashuva. And they said, arise, let us go do it again. Al amenu, to our own people. Ve'el eretz moladetenu, and to the land of our birth, from the oppressing sword. Mipnei cherev hayona. So here you see the word Yonah. It's not Jonah and the whale, Jonah, but it means to suppress and oppress and maltreat. And that's similar sounding word with a different meaning. And then Rashi is saying, he made many stumbling blocks. God, that is, who pushed him down Egypt, and made many stumbling blocks for him. Yes, they joined. Nafal. They joined one another, saying, "Arise and let us go back to our own people, the people of Egypt that had been exiled as themselves, whence we came to wage war." And the oppressing sword, the Targum Yonasan says, the sword of the enemy, which is like intoxicating wine. The expression of wine, or another interpretation, is an expression of oppression, that the Egyptians were now being stressed out, that Nebuchadnezzar, the king of the Babylonians, was going to try to conquer, to expand his entire empire of Babylonia, and it would include Egypt, which would be a tremendous acquisition of his empire, to have the territory of Egypt and to put another great country into his empire.
So this word Cherab Hayonah, anybody ever hear of the term Onas Devarim?
Yeah, you're a fasting of words.
No. Oh, no, this Inisem Esnaf
Oh, that's
Shosei.
Tanita Dibor. Sorry, my mistake.
Inisem Esnaf Shochem would be fast, would be a fast, or to suffer. So we have 5 things that were Yotze with the Inisem Esnaf Shoseikim on Yom Kippur. Fasting is one of them, and there are other ones. It's uncomfortable, but then you have Onas Devarim. Does anybody know what Onas Devarim is? It's one of the Surim in the Torah. One of the
Apparently, I
613
don't.
commandments. What?
I said, apparently, I don't.
No, nobody in the shir, because it's actually two different. There are 2 different Isurim. There's Onas Devarim and Onah in business. Onah is not cheating, but it's taking advantage of it. Like if you sell something for a certain amount over the market rate, or
It's corruption.
corruption, like
It's corruption. Is your the balance scales are being leaned on.
it could be, but you're not allowed to say things that make a person feel bad. That's Onas Devarim. They talk especially about a ger, Onah. That's with an aleph. Then there's Inisam Esnaf Shoseikim is to afflict yourself. And here it seems to be ambiguous because it has neither an aleph or an ayin. So maybe needs a little more looking into it. Anyway, but the general idea is that it means the sword that causes suffering for the Mitzrim. Whether we missed actually the main connection with the Parsha. The general thing is it means that the Mitzrim are going to get beat up in the future, but the very first pasuk had the main connection with the Parsha. Did anybody see that?
Sure.
In 13, pasuk 13, you have the main connection with the Parsha.
Mentioned it before.
No, we didn't. It's a Shelley.
Mm-hmm.
Wait,
In Hebrew?
In Hebrew, yeah. With direct connection with the Parsha in the Hebrew, and 49:13, very first pasuk. Hadavar asher diber Hashem el Yirmiyahu hanavi lavo Nebuchadnezzar melech Bavel. What's the next word?
Lehakos.
Lakos, Makos. This is all about the Makos.
Ah, that
You
explains
don't
why they
notice it
picked.
because it's a different form of the word.
Yeah, it's to strike.
This
So he's gonna get-
explains why it starts in the middle of the chapter, because it is targeting the specific word
Right.
as the pivot point. It could have started at the beginning of a chapter, and it could have run a lot longer to make the 21 minimum requirement, but it didn't. Neither of them.
That's
Thank you,
interesting.
Dr. Goldfarb.
So it's
That
quite
seems
striking.
right. Whenever,
Ah.
whenever, this would be an interesting research study we could do over a whole year. Ruby's postulate sounds right. Whenever the Haftorah begins in the middle of a chapter, and that's Goyim chapter, it seems that the Chazal want to pick the theme of the Haftorah in the very first pasuk. Otherwise, it would just start from the beginning of the chapter generally. So,
Which is literally what people do. They very often, the first sentence of a paragraph or a selection is the main idea.
it's
Okay.
right. Very interesting. Okay.
I think Dr. Goldfarb taught us as far as the story from Me Cakes with the split the baby in the half, and there was the plaintiff and the defendant, and we learned that people start with their best foot forward. So at that time, the mother, the plaintiff is saying the dead baby is not my baby, and then the defendant is saying the living baby is my baby. So they were leading with their best foot forward, one being a liar, the plaintiff, and two being the real mother, the defendant. So here is also evidence that you use your best foot forward, where you're using this pasuk to start the Haftarah as your best foot forward, as far as the word lehakos is the similar languaging to the Parsha, to remind us why we're reading this Haftorah, that you can either say Maaseh Avot Siman Lebanim, that it happened 800 years earlier, and now it's happening again.
It will mock us to focus.
Yeah.
It's good if it has that benefit. It's good just to make sure we look at every first Haftorahs that we're doing. Look at the first line. So
We can
If it's-
research the whole year.
we got something to do for the whole year.
Yeah,
If
by
it's in the-
by the way, while you're researching, you might want to count the number of pesukim in this Haftorah and find out that it's under the minimum.
Right. It's 15, I think. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 16. So, speaking of 16, Madua nischaf abirecha lo amad ki Hashem hadafo. We just read. Hirba koshel. He made many stumble. Gam nafal ish el reyehu. That one fell over the other and said, Kuma, arise, v'nashuva, and let us return el amenu, back to our people, vel eretz moladetenu, and to the land that we grew up in, that we were born in, mipnei cherev hayonah, from the oppressing sword, which Dr. Goldfarb just explained to us. Now, 17, Kar'u sham, they cried there, Paro, Melech Mitzrayim, Pharaoh, the title, the king of Mitzrayim, Sha'on, Ha'evir HaMoed. Egypt is but a noise, and he has let the appointed time pass by. So here the word Sha'on is given the meaning of roar, the roar of waters sometimes, or the crashing sound that the time is passing by.
It'd be interesting to know what's the root of that word.
Sha'on?
Yeah. I don't think it's clear. It definitely means what you said, but what the root is.
It's saying I'm looking in the concordance in the dictionary,
Means
and
yeah.
It
Chanel.
just, it says the roar.
Oh, we
of
good. We
waters,
have
the
we can get
din,
an Israeli.
the crash, the
We
uproar.
get a consult here. What's the word sha'on mean?
Sha'on?
Yeah.
Where does it come from? Is
No, what's it? Yeah,
Al?
what's the root?
Is it Ayin or is it Al?
Al sha'on Haftorah. Sha'on. What? Probably sha'on. What means noise? But what's the root? Where does it come from?
Sha'on, let me see a second.
I have an Israeli passing by, so I'm going to catch him.
Shalom.
Hey,
Hi.
My nephew Dovi was in Shana Rishona, so he can't take care of us. He's got to take care of his wife.
Okay. So,
How you doing, Dovey?
great. Morning.
Sha'on
Jet lag.
Ha'avir HaMoed.
That's who I
Shelley.
benefit.
Who's that?
The Shelley Pine. They get, Shelley. And
What was the meeting now?
Minions is the 720.
You want to send me?
Yeah.
It was.
Okay.
So here, Karusham, there they called out in the battle. They proclaimed publicly a reproachable byword. Does that explain things? Pharaoh, Melech Mitzrayim, who made a lot of noise. That's the Sha'on. Maybe a clock also makes noise.
Of course,
tick,
it's a
tick,
yes.
tick, tick,
Mhm.
tick. Of
In
course,
fact,
what?
it goes TikTok, which is going to be banned.
It is?
TikTok? Yeah, it's going to be banned.
Pharaoh, king of Egypt, who made a lot of noise, who would raise the sound of his noise, the noises to boast with his armies, and then has allowed the appointed time to pass by. What's that talking about? For he had appointed a set time to go forth and wage war, and yet he did not go forth, and the day of the appointed time passed by. And this is other conversations that they had about the land, the nation of Egypt was like these straws in the Nile River, that they appeared to be like made out of some strong aluminum kind of fabric. However, when pressure came upon the Egyptians, they would crumble and collapse. So here, one, they didn't have the might, but they also didn't keep their word as far as they said they're going to do something, and they didn't keep their word. So they were not
They didn't read it well.
brilliant. That is amazing.
And that was from last week's Haftorah. That's good. Shelley remembers him from last week. They were.
I think that's the last
They were a
straw.
weak. A cane made of cane. How's that one? They were.
Yudchet. Chai Ani, as I live, Ne'um HaMelech, says the king, Hashem Sebakot Shemo, that Yud Kei Vav Kei, Lord of the host of the armies of the heavens, is his name. Ki Savor Behorim Uche Charmel Bayom Yovo, that surely, like Tavor, the mountain of Tavor among the mountains, and like Carmel by the sea, so shall he come. So Rashi says that Assuras Tavor is among the mountains, just as it is a true fact that Tavor is fast among the mountains and Mount Carmel is by the sea. So is it true that this thing shall come upon Egypt, meaning this is a fact of the future. Yud Tes 19, Kilei Gola, Asilach Yosheves Bats Mitzrayim. Bats Mitzrayim, O daughter who dwells in Egypt, furnish yourself to go into captivity. For Memphis, Kinof, the English word for Nof is Memphis, Lishama, shall become a desolation. V'nitzsa me'ein yoshev, and shall be burnt up without inhabitants. There'll be no one living there anymore. So Klei Gola is equipment for exile. When a person embarks on a journey, he prepares for himself a flask and an earthenware cup to which to drink. And here it says, V'nitzcha, and that it will be desolate. This is an expression of siya, an expression of desolation. So the Navi Yirmiyahu is speaking to the Jewish people, and he's explaining to them what the destiny of the former world superpower of Egypt is going to play out once Nebuchadnezzar marches upon them. He talks about Mitzrayim. Egla Yefeifia Mitzrayim. Egypt is a very beautiful egel, very beautiful heifer. Keretz mitzafon ba. But a gadfly out of the north is coming. It is coming. And it's saying it used to be, Egla Yefeifia used to be a beautiful kingdom. And then Keren, destruction, peoples that kill. It's an expression of cutting. From the north, it's saying, it's from Bavel. They're predicting that the nation from north, the Babylonians, are going to march upon Egypt. Chaf Aleph 21. Gam sichireha bekirba keegle marbek. That also, sichireha are the name for mercenaries. In the word sichireha is schar. In other words, payment. These were paid for performance soldiers, that they had to hire soldiers to fight. Gam sichireha bekirba are in her midst. Keegle marbek. Like you have the slaughterhouses with the calves in the stalls. Kigam hema hifnu nasu yachdav, for they also have turned back. They have fled away together.
Because they were mercenaries, right?
Yes.
They didn't have loyalty to the country.
Gotcha. Very good. They did not stand. Kiyom Edamba, for the day of their calamity has come on them. Edom ba alehem, the day of their calamity has come upon them. Eis pekudasam, that this is the time of their visitation. So also Sechireha also could mean her princes with the great razor, Haschira, or Marbek, fattened, that these were posing as being strong. However, Hifnu, that it turned around, they turned their back only to seek to flee. Like, how do we get out of here? They're giving in. They're not even standing up to Sechireha, which is what Sheldon said. They're paid to fight, and they go, there's no purpose of this. We're out of here. We're not even going to get paid. Kolak nachash yelech. The sound of it shall go like the serpent. Ki v'chayil yelechu. For they shall march with an army. Uvekar demus bala kichodvei eitzein. And they will come against her with axes as wood cutters. So uvekar demut, kardom is an axe, Dr. Goldfarb.
Yeah.
Or it says here, a double hoe, H-O-E, one side of which could split wood. So it was a specific kind of tool.
They're ready to get cut down. They're like a forest ready to get cut down, or like an animal fattened up to get slaughtered. They're all being set up to get destroyed.
The setting up is being done, if I understand correctly, by the Babylonians.
No,
And
by
the
Hashem.
Egypt-
Hashem's, and then Hashem's going to send the Babylonians against them. They're like, well, and they're defenseless, just like a tree in the forest is defenseless, or a fattened animal is
Yeah.
defenseless against
The whole point is that it's being controlled. The destruction of Egypt is being controlled by Hashem. So the success of Babylon, the Babylonians, is being facilitated by Hashem.
And this is all
Right.
prophetic.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And Egypt looks pathetic.
Pathos.
The idea is that Hashem wants Egypt to look pathetic, just like in the time of the Yetzias Mitzrayim,
The
where
Makos, yeah.
that I didn't think of that, but that's really the connection, that they're made to look pathetic.
Mhm.
23, Chav Gimel. Karsu Yara Ne'um Hashem Kilo Ye Choker. They shall cut down her forest, says Hashem.
Is that how
Though-
it translates? They shall cut down the forest, or Hashem is telling them cut down the forest, like Hashem's giving a command to
Atzivui.
Nebuchadnezzar, cut down the forest.
As a command.
Yeah, how's your translation go?
It says they shall cut down her forest.
Yeah, mine also says Karsu really sounds to me like a command. Karsu.
Kores.
You're right. But this question is it a command or a prediction? Sounds like Hashem is saying,
I think it's a little different.
okay,
I think it's that the Babylonians will come with axes to cut down the Egyptians like wood.
right. So the question is Hashem commanding them, or are they just going to do it?
Well, if it
It says
was
Hashem-
future, it would be Yikarsu.
Except sometimes the prophetic past is the future. In other words, it's like it already happened, kind of. Anyway, it's not.
No, but that's a
Because-
great point, Dr. Goldfarb. That's-
Because were there any forests in Egypt?
of course,
Where?
you had palm trees.
Yeah, but I've never heard of a forest in Egypt.
I think he's just saying that the people are like standing trees ready to get cut down.
Waiting to get cut down. Good point. Ki rabu me'arbeh ve'ein lahem mispar. Though it cannot be searched because they are more than the locusts. and
Oh,
are
there's the biggest connection with the Parsha.
Mm-hmm.
the arbeh.
Yeah.
They don't say there are locusts, but they are more numerous than locusts.
Right, even though they're like they're really gonna destroy.
Mm-hmm.
So beautiful in these agricultural and forests and locusts and everything. Hovisha bat Mitzrayim, Chafdala 24. Hovisha bas Mitzrayim, the daughter of Egypt, shall be disappointed.
What Hovisha, would that be like embarrassed?
Yeah. Be dried up, withered.
Oh, that may be another explanation. Maybe from Yavesh.
Yeah.
Question, is it from Yavesh or Busha?
Mhm.
Yes, because Rav Steinsaltz translates it as shamed.
And this is the first place we have a bas mitzvah.
Yeah.
But it's
Okay,
a
so
bas
here's
mitzrayim.
here's the translation is shamed. She is delivered into the hand of the people of the earth.
And here it says people of the north. Biyad
of the north.
Amsafon.
The north. Yeah, I'm sorry. My eyes failed.
It's okay. It's okay. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Oh, Great.
So
Good line.
it's not mine. Stevie Wonder's. Hovisha Bas Mitzrayim. So you have, it could sound like Al Titbayesh. Don't be embarrassed. But here, Egypt is going to be embarrassed, or you're saying it dries up. Well, you know what? That's also something to be embarrassed about. 25. Omar Hashem Tzivakot Elokei Yisrael Hineni Foked Es Amon Mino Ve'el Paro Ve'al Mitzrayim Ve'al Eloheha Ve'al Milocheha. That here Hashem, the God of Israel, says, behold, I will punish Ammon of No, the city of No, and Pharaoh and Egypt with her gods and her kings, and Ve'al Paro Ve'al Habodchimbo, even Pharaoh and those who trust him. So the Navi is predicting that they are going to be included as far as Ammon goes. Yes, upon the prince Ammon, there are some that are an expression of greatness. And are you greater than the greatness of No, the city of No, not to be confused with the word N-O, no, of No, the great Alexandria. That's what this city is in English. Alexandria, probably named after Alexander the Great.
It
but
was.
prior to him, it was known as the city of No.
No.
Kavav. Unisatim biyad mevakshei nafsham. Uviyad Nebuchadnezzar melech Bavel uviyad Abadav. And I will deliver them into the hand of those who seek their lives, and into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and into the hand of his servants. And afterwards it shall be inhabited as in the days of old. So says Hashem. At the end of 40 years, that also the number 40, we said, is mentioned over 100 times in the Tanakh, that here they're being exiled from their own land, that they didn't have sovereignty there, would be for 40 years. Ve'ata, Chaf Zayin, ve'ata, and you, Al Tira Avdi Yaakov, have no fear, my servant Jacob, ve'al techas Yisrael, nor shall Israel, another name for Yaakov, is do not be dismayed. Ki hineni moshi acha, for behold, I will save you, merachok, from afar, ve'ezaracha, your seed, from the land, me'eret shivyam, from the land that you were captives. Vishav Yaakov vishakat visha'anan ve'ein macharid. So Vishav Yaakov, Jacob shall return, vishakat, sheket, vishakat, and shall be quiet, visha'anan, and at ease, ve'ein macharid, and none shall make him afraid. So these are very powerful, encouraging words by the Navi, Yirmiyahu, speaking to the people of Israel, also referred to as Jacobsons. And I am going to be the one to save you. God, Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, have no fear, because even if it's done remote control from far away, I am the one that's going to protect you and save you. So the righteous man, this is Rashi, is saying, Va'ata al tira, you fear not, the righteous men who were in Egypt, who were exiled there against their will. So they were being held captive. 28. This is the buttoning up of the Haftarah. Ata al tira avdi Yaakov. Same few words as the preamble to this verse. Ne'um Hashem ki idcha anon ani, for I am with you. Ki e'aseh chala, for I will make a full end. Now, when you say chala, like vayichulu hashamayim, there will be a completion b'chol hagoyim, a full end of all the nations, asher hidachticha shama, that they had driven you out, v'oscha, and you lo e'aseh chala, but as far as you're concerned, I will correct you in measure, v'yisartich la mishpat, and v'nakeh anakeh ka, and will in no way leave you unpunished. Whoa, Dr. Gofar, what does that mean? That here, don't be afraid, Jacob. This is the prophet speaking to the people, my servant, on behalf of Hashem. And Hashem is saying, I'm with you. Have no fear. God is here. And I will make a full end of all the nations where I have driven you, which means that you were exiled away from your homeland. And now but I will not make a full end of you. I am not going to destroy you. That we see many times God says, I reserved full anger, full letting go and destroying you. It'll be measured. I will not make a full end of you, but I will correct you in measure. That God is saying, I don't let go. I don't explode anymore. I don't just wipe you out. You get measured responses. This is how they speak about, demanding from the Israelites that they don't obliterate their enemies. They're saying, you have to have measured responses. So God is saying, talking about, we invented measured responses. I'm the creator of the world. And I didn't wipe out the Jews because they sinned. They sinned. I gave them appropriate slap on the wrist, and will in no way leave you unpunished. So he's saying there's a price to pay for misbehavior. However, the interesting thing is that you get to go on, and you get to do teshuvah, and you get to self-reflect. What are we doing? Why are we in this mess? And stop pointing your fingers everywhere else. Take a look inwardly. And sometimes it's on an individual level, but here it's on a national level. That the Israelites didn't show faith enough in their own God, and they were toggling between surrendering to Egypt to take care of them, to be the big brother, or the Babylonians. And Jeremiah comes in and he says, listen, the B-52 bombers are coming in, and they're going to carpet bomb Egypt. They're going to destroy these people. They've misled you once. They're trying to gain your confidence again, but they are not qualified. They have no right to even pose themselves as people that can save you. So this is a message delivered to the people as far as Yogi Berra says. If there's a fork in the road, so do you go with Egypt or do you go with Babylonia? And what Yirmiyahu is saying is, you don't got to think. I'm telling you what's going to happen. The Babylonians are coming in and they're going to wipe out the Egyptians. Just sit still. They're going to march over you. They're going to march through you. Let them go to Egypt. Let them do geographically. They come from the north and they go south. And this is Jeremiah's prediction as far as what is playing out from Parshas Bo with the 10 plagues. And now, 800 years later, they're saying, or approximately many centuries later, that things will be still, sit still. And it means literally don't lift a finger. That God is saying, I'm going to take care of this for you. I'm going to make sure that the Egyptians are settled down and that they won't agitate you anymore. and won't make you live in fear anymore and won't give you post-traumatic exile syndrome that these people, you know, they forget. And God is saying, not only do you not have to worry about them, I'm going to neutralize these people. Very powerful words. So that's our happy Haftorah.
Okay.
Ruby, thank you. I want to give a blessing.
Please.